On June 13, 2001, 19-year-old Jason Jalkowski left his house in Omaha, Nebraska, to walk 8 blocks to meet a coworker for a ride to work. It was 11:15 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. The sun was shining. The neighborhood was his own, streets he'd walked his entire life. The distance was less than half a mile. Jason never arrived at the meeting spot. He never made it to work. He was never seen again. No witnesses saw what happened. No evidence was ever found. No body has been discovered. No trace of Jason Jalkowski exists beyond the moment he walked out his front door. For over 20 years, investigators have tried to solve what seems like the simplest missing persons case imaginable. A young man walking 8 blocks in broad daylight in his own neighborhood. Yet it remains completely unsolvable. This is the haunting mystery of Jason Jalkowski, a case so ordinary in its circumstances, yet so extraordinary in its lack of answers that it's known as one of the most bizarre disappearances in American history. The Jason Jalkowski case is frustrating because it shouldn't be a mystery. This wasn't someone hiking in remote wilderness. This wasn't someone traveling to an unfamiliar place. This wasn't late at night in a dangerous area. This was a responsible 19-year-old walking 8 blocks in his own middle-class neighborhood at 11:15 in the morning to meet someone for a ride to work. And yet, Jason vanished so completely that despite 2 decades of investigation, despite extensive searches, despite national media attention, despite advances in technology, there is not a single clue about what happened to him. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge Jason's family, particularly his mother, Kelly Jalkowski, who has never stopped searching for her son. If you have any information about Jason's disappearance, please contact the Omaha Police Department. Now, let's go back to 2001, to a young man whose life was full of promise, whose day started normally, and who disappeared in a way that defies all explanation. Jason Anthony Jalkowski was born on June 24, 1981, in Grand Island, Nebraska. He was the oldest of 4 siblings in the Jalkowski family. His parents, Kelly and Jim, raised their children in Omaha, Nebraska's largest city. Jason grew up in a stable, loving middle-class family in Omaha's Benson neighborhood. Those who knew Jason described him as kind and genuinely nice, not just polite but truly caring, responsible and mature for his age, close to his family, especially his younger siblings, somewhat shy and introverted but friendly, trustworthy, the kind of person parents felt comfortable around their kids, not someone who took risks or made impulsive decisions. Jason attended local schools in Omaha. He was a good student, not the top of his class, but solid and consistent. He participated in school activities and had friends, though he wasn't part of the popular crowd. To understand why Jason's disappearance is so baffling, you need to understand who he was. Jason was the responsible one, the reliable one, the one you could count on. He was the kind of person who always showed up when he said he would, never caused his parents worry, took care of his younger siblings, followed rules and respected authority, wasn't involved in drugs, alcohol, or risky behavior, had no reason to run away or disappear voluntarily. After graduating from high school, Jason enrolled at Iowa Western Community College in Council Bluffs, Iowa, just across the river from Omaha. He was taking general education courses, still figuring out exactly what he wanted to study long-term. Jason lived at home with his parents while attending college. This was financially practical and also suited Jason's close relationship with his family. He helped around the house, spent time with his siblings, and was very much part of the family's daily life. In the summer of 2001, Jason was 19 years old, about to turn 20 in a couple of weeks. He was taking a break from college for the summer, working at a Fazoli's restaurant, an Italian fast food chain, saving money for the next school year, still living at home with his family, making plans for his future. Jason had been working at Fazoli's for a while and was a reliable employee. His managers liked him. His coworkers liked him. He showed up on time, did his job, and never caused problems. Jason's life in June 2001 was predictable and routine. Work shifts at Fazoli's, time with family, hanging out with friends occasionally, saving money, planning for the fall semester. There was nothing unusual about Jason's life. No conflicts, no drama, no signs of trouble. The day before Jason disappeared was completely normal. Jason worked his shift at Fazoli's. He came home that evening. He spent time with his family. He went to bed like any other night. Nothing seemed wrong or unusual. Jason was particularly close to his mother, Kelly. They had a warm, open relationship. Jason would talk to Kelly about his day, his plans, his thoughts. She knew her son well, his moods, his habits, his personality. This is important because Kelly would later say that in the days and weeks before Jason disappeared, there was absolutely nothing unusual about his behavior. No signs of depression, no indication he was troubled, no hints that anything was wrong. Jason was happy. He was looking forward to his birthday. He was planning to hang out with friends. He had shifts scheduled at work for the coming week. He had plans. People who are planning to disappear don't make plans for next week. June 13th, 2001, dawned like any other summer day in Omaha. It was Wednesday. The weather was nice, sunny, warm, a beautiful Nebraska summer day. Jason woke up that morning with plans for a normal day. Work his shift at Fazoli's, come home, have dinner with his family. Just a regular Wednesday. But June 13th, 2001, will be the last day anyone ever saw Jason Jalkowski. Let's walk through the morning of June 13th, 2001, minute by minute, because every detail matters when trying to understand what happened to Jason. Jason woke up that morning at a normal time. His shift at Fazoli's was scheduled to start at noon. The restaurant was located at 132nd and Maple Street in Omaha, a drive of about 10 to 15 minutes from the Jalkowski family home. Jason's usual method of getting to work was driving his car. But here's a crucial detail that would change everything. Jason's car was in the shop for repairs. His car had been making strange noises, so Jason had taken it to a mechanic. The repairs were going to take a few days. This meant Jason needed alternative transportation to get to work. Jason's co-worker, a manager at Fazoli's named Sam, had offered to give Jason a ride to work. Sam lived in the area and was happy to help out. They made a plan. Sam would pick up Jason on his way to work. Rather than Sam driving all the way to Jason's house, they agreed on a meeting spot. The meeting spot was Benson High School, a school in the neighborhood that Jason and Sam were both familiar with. Benson High School was about 8 blocks from Jason's house. Jason would walk to the school, Sam would pick him up there, and they'd drive to work together. This was a simple, reasonable plan. Jason had walked through his neighborhood hundreds of times. 8 blocks was nothing, maybe a 10 to 15-minute walk at a casual pace. Around 10:30 a.m., Jason started getting ready for work. He showered, got dressed in casual clothes. He would change into his work uniform at Fazoli's, had something to eat, gathered his things, wallet, keys to the house, etc. Jason's family was home that morning. His mother, Kelly, was there. His younger siblings were there. It was a normal morning with family around. Around 11:00 a.m., Jason told his family he was getting ready to leave. The plan was, leave the house at 11:15 a.m., walk the 8 blocks to Benson High School, meet Sam there around 11:30 a.m., drive to Fazoli's, and arrive in time for his noon shift. Jason called Sam to confirm a plan. Sam confirmed, yes, he'd meet Jason at Benson High School around 11:30 a.m. Everything was set. In these final 15 minutes before Jason left, everything was completely normal. Jason was in a good mood. He joked with his younger brother, Michael. He told his mom, Kelly, he was leaving. He grabbed his house keys. He said goodbye to his family. Kelly later recalled that Jason seemed completely fine, happy, relaxed, looking forward to work. There was absolutely nothing unusual about his demeanor or behavior. At approximately 11:15 a.m., Jason walked out the front door of his house at 4860 South 48th Street in Omaha. His mother, Kelly, watched from the window as Jason walked down their driveway and turned right, heading north on 48th Street toward Benson High School. Kelly watched her son for just a few seconds, long enough to see him walking normally, confidently, like he'd done hundreds of times before. Then she turned away from the window and went back to her morning routine. She had no reason to worry. Jason was walking 8 blocks in their safe, familiar neighborhood in broad daylight. What could possibly go wrong? The walk from Jason's house to Benson High School was straightforward. Starting point, 4860 South 48th Street, Jason's house. Destination, Benson High School at 5120 Maple Street. Distance, approximately 8 blocks, roughly half a mile. Estimated walking time, 10 to 15 minutes. The route Jason would have taken: walk north on 48th Street. At some point, turn west toward Maple Street. Walk to Benson High School. The neighborhood was residential. Modest homes, quiet streets, the kind of place where neighbors know each other and kids play outside. It was a Wednesday morning. People were home. Cars were on the streets. This wasn't an isolated or dangerous area. It was just a normal neighborhood on a normal summer morning. Sam, Jason's co-worker, arrived at Benson High School at approximately 11:30 a.m., just as planned. He pulled into the school parking lot and looked for Jason. Jason wasn't there. Sam waited. He figured Jason was running a little late. No big deal. 11:35 a.m., still no Jason. 11:40 a.m., still no Jason. Sam started to feel confused. This wasn't like Jason. Jason was always on time, always reliable. Sam called Fazoli's and asked if Jason had somehow gotten a different ride and was already there. No, Jason wasn't at work. Sam called Jason's house. Kelly Jalkowski answered the phone. It was Sam, asking if Jason was there. Kelly was confused. No, Jason left here at 11:15 to meet you at the school. Sam explained he was at Benson High School. Jason wasn't there. Kelly felt a flutter of concern, but tried to stay calm. Maybe you missed him. Maybe you walked a different route, and you passed each other. Sam said he'd drive around and look. Maybe Jason was walking and just running late. Sam drove around the neighborhood, looking for Jason walking. He didn't see him. He called Kelly back. Still no Jason. Now both Sam and Kelly were genuinely worried. Jason's shift at Fazoli's was supposed to start at noon. Jason never arrived. Jason never called to say he'd be late. This was completely unlike Jason. He was reliable. He always showed up. If something came up, he'd call. Kelly got in her car and drove to Benson High School. She drove slowly, looking for Jason on every street, thinking maybe he'd been injured, maybe he'd fallen, maybe something had happened. She didn't see Jason anywhere. She drove the route he would have walked, scanning sidewalks, yards everywhere. Nothing. No sign of Jason. By 12:30 p.m., Kelly knew something was terribly wrong. This wasn't Jason running late or forgetting. Something had happened. She called the Omaha Police Department to report Jason missing. And that's when the nightmare began. Jason Jalkowski walked out of his house at 11:15 a.m. to walk 8 blocks. He never arrived. So what happened in those 8 blocks? Let's examine every possibility, every theory, every piece of this impossible puzzle. The area where Jason disappeared is crucial to understanding this case. Jason's starting point: 4860 South 48th Street. Residential neighborhood. Modest single-family homes. Quiet street with some trees. Normal, safe middle-class area. The route: 8 blocks through residential streets. Mix of houses, small apartment buildings, and local businesses. Streets like 48th, 49th, 50th running north-south. Cross streets connecting them. Sidewalks on most streets. Some trees and landscaping providing shade. The destination: Benson High School at 5120 Maple Street. Large school building with parking lot. Visible from a street. Easy landmark to find. What's critical? This wasn't a remote area. This was Jason's own neighborhood. On a Wednesday morning in June, this area would have had people at home, cars driving by, possibly people outside, yard work, walking, etc. houses with windows facing the street, multiple potential witnesses. And yet, not a single person has ever come forward saying they saw Jason that morning. The timeline problem. Jason left at 11:15 a.m. Sam arrived at 11:30 a.m. That's a 15-minute window. For Jason to have walked 8 blocks, normally a 10 to 15-minute walk, he should have arrived at Benson High School right around the time Sam got there, or just a few minutes before or after. But Jason never arrived. This means something happened to Jason during that 15-minute walk through his own neighborhood in broad daylight. What could have happened? Let's examine every possibility. Possibility number 1. Jason had a medical emergency. Theory: Jason had a sudden medical issue. A seizure, a heart attack, a stroke, something that incapacitated him. Problems with this theory. Jason was 19 and healthy with no known medical conditions. If he collapsed on the sidewalk, someone would have seen him. If he collapsed in a yard, the homeowner would have found him. Searches of the area found nothing. Possibility number 2. Jason was hit by a car. Theory: a car struck Jason, and the driver panicked and hit his body. Problems with this theory. No witnesses reported seeing an accident. No evidence of a hit and run, blood, debris, etc. How would a driver hide a body in broad daylight in a residential area without being seen? Where would they take the body? Possibility number 3. Jason was abducted. Theory: someone grabbed Jason off the street and forced him into a vehicle. Problems with this theory. Jason was 6 feet 1 inch and 165 pounds. Not easy to force into a car. This would require a struggle that someone would likely see or hear. Broad daylight on a Wednesday morning makes this very risky for an abductor. No witnesses saw any struggle or suspicious vehicles. But this theory can't be ruled out, especially if Jason knew the person and got into the vehicle willingly. Possibility number 4. Jason went somewhere voluntarily. Theory: Jason decided to go somewhere else instead of meeting Sam. Problems with this theory. Completely out of character for Jason. He had no reason to skip work. He'd confirmed with Sam minutes earlier. He never used his bank cards or accessed money again. No activity on his accounts ever again. Where'd he go and why? This theory is almost universally dismissed by everyone who knew Jason. Possibility number 5. Jason was lured into a house. Theory: Jason was lured or invited into a house along his route, where something happened to him. This theory has some troubling plausibility. Would explain why no one saw anything happen on the street. Would explain the lack of evidence. Would explain how Jason could vanish so quickly. Could have been someone Jason knew or a stranger using a ruse. But problems remain. Why would Jason go into a stranger's house when he was expected at work? If he knew the person, who was it and why haven't they been identified? How would someone dispose of a body from their house without being noticed? Most investigators believe Jason encountered someone during his walk. Either someone he knew or someone who used a ruse, asking for help, offering a ride, etc. And Jason either voluntarily got into a vehicle or was forced into one. Whatever happened next, whether harm was intentional or accidental, Jason's body was hidden or disposed of in a way that has prevented discovery for over 20 years. The frustrating reality. What makes this case so maddening is that something happened between 11:15 and 11:30 a.m. on June 13, 2001, within an 8-block area of a residential neighborhood. Someone must have seen something. Someone must know something. A person doesn't just vanish into thin air in the middle of the day in their own neighborhood. And yet, that's exactly what appears to have happened to Jason Jalkowski. When Kelly Jalkowski called police to report Jason missing on June 13, 2001, she expected immediate action. What she got was frustration, delays, and a response that may have cost crucial investigation time. When Kelly called to report Jason missing around 12:30 p.m., the police response was not what she'd hoped for. Police told Kelly that Jason had to be missing for 24 hours before they could file a missing person report. This is a common misconception that persists even today and it's completely false. The truth is, there is no mandatory waiting period for reporting adults missing. Police can and should take missing person reports immediately. The first hours are the most critical in any disappearance. Delayed response can mean lost evidence and cold trails. But in 2001, this myth was even more prevalent, and the Omaha Police Department followed it. They told Kelly to wait 24 hours, suggesting Jason had probably just gone somewhere and would turn up. Kelly tried to explain. This was completely unlike Jason. He'd never missed work without calling. He was reliable and responsible. Something was clearly wrong, but police insisted on the 24-hour rule. With police unwilling to help immediately, Kelly and her family began their own search. That afternoon, June 13th, Kelly drove through the neighborhood repeatedly. She checked every street between their house and Benson High School. She stopped at houses along possible routes, asking if anyone had seen Jason. She checked with Jason's friends. No one had seen or heard from him. Family members walked the neighborhood calling Jason's name. They checked parks, stores, anywhere Jason might be. They found nothing. No sign of Jason anywhere. The growing fear. As the afternoon turned to evening on June 13th, Kelly's fear grew. Jason still hadn't contacted anyone. He hadn't shown up at home. No one had seen him. This was now 8+ hours since he'd left the house. Kelly knew something terrible had happened. Jason wouldn't do this. He wouldn't disappear without telling anyone. He wouldn't miss work. He wouldn't worry his family like this. At 12:30 p.m. on June 14th, exactly 24 hours after Kelly's first call, Omaha police finally took an official missing person report. By this time, Jason had been missing for 25 hours. A full day had passed. Evidence may have been lost. Witnesses' memories had faded. The trail was already cold. Once the report was filed, police began investigating. Police interviewed Kelly and other family members extensively. They asked about Jason's state of mind, his relationships, his habits. They asked if he had any reason to run away. They asked about conflicts, problems, or issues. The family insisted. Jason was happy. He had no problems. He had no reason to disappear. This was completely out of character. Police talked to Jason's friends. No one had heard from him. They talked to co-workers at Fazoli's. Jason hadn't shown up or called. They talked to Sam, the co-worker who was supposed to give Jason a ride. His story checked out. Everyone said the same thing. This wasn't like Jason. Police walked the route Jason would have taken from his house to Benson High School. They looked for any evidence, blood, clothing, signs of struggle. They checked yards, alleys between houses. They looked for anything that might indicate what happened. They found nothing, not a single shred of evidence. Police searched Jason's bedroom looking for clues. Was there a note suggesting he planned to leave? Was there evidence of depression or suicidal thoughts? Was there anything unusual? Jason's room was normal. Everything suggested a young man who expected to come home. His belongings were there. There was no note, no indication he'd planned to disappear. Police checked Jason's bank account. No withdrawals after he disappeared. No ATM usage. No credit card activity. Nothing. If Jason had run away or left voluntarily, he did so with no money and no access to funds. As days passed, the search expanded. Community involvement. Neighbors organized search parties. Volunteers walked through the neighborhood in organized grids. People checked their own properties, sheds, garages. Local businesses posted missing person flyers. Media coverage. Local news covered Jason's disappearance. His photo was shown on TV and in newspapers. The community rallied to help find him. What searchers were looking for? Jason himself, hoping he was injured somewhere. Jason's body, the grim possibility. Any evidence, clothing, personal items, signs of struggle. Anything that might indicate what happened. What they found? Nothing. Despite hundreds of people searching, despite going through the area thoroughly, despite checking every possible location, there was no trace of Jason. Early in the investigation, police considered several theories. Theory 1. Voluntary disappearance. Jason ran away to start a new life. Police investigated this thoroughly, but found no evidence supporting it. Theory 2. Suicide. Jason took his own life, and his body hasn't been found. Again, no evidence. Jason showed no signs of depression and had no history of mental health issues. Theory 3. Foul play. Someone harmed Jason, either intentionally or accidentally, and hid his body. This became the working theory, but without evidence, there was nowhere to go. The investigation was hampered by several factors. No witnesses. The most frustrating aspect. In a residential neighborhood on a Wednesday morning, somehow no one saw anything. Or if they did, they didn't realize it was significant. No physical evidence. Not a single piece of physical evidence was found. No blood, no clothing, no signs of struggle, nothing. No digital trail. In 2001, digital surveillance was far less common than today. There were no doorbell cameras, no extensive CCTV networks, no cell phone location tracking that would help today. The 24-hour delay. The critical first 24 hours were lost because of the waiting period. By the time police officially investigated, the trail was already cold. As 2001 turned to 2002, and 2002 to 2003, Jason's case remained open, but with no active leads. Periodic searches were conducted. Police followed up on tips when they came in. The family never stopped looking, but there were no breakthroughs. Jason Jalkowski had vanished completely, and despite everyone's best efforts, no one could figure out how or why. For over 20 years, investigators, family, and amateur sleuths have developed theories about what happened to Jason Jalkowski. Let's examine each major theory carefully. Theory number 1. Jason was abducted by a stranger. This theory suggests Jason was the victim of an opportunistic predator. The scenario: someone driving through the neighborhood saw Jason walking alone. This person either used a ruse to get Jason to approach, asking for directions, claiming to know his family, pretending to need help, forcibly grabbed Jason and forced him into a vehicle, offered Jason a ride, maybe claiming to be heading toward Benson High School. Once Jason was in the vehicle, he was taken somewhere, harmed, either intentionally or during a struggle, and his body was hidden. Evidence supporting this would explain the complete disappearance, would explain lack of witnesses, happened inside a vehicle, would explain lack of evidence in the neighborhood. Random abductions do happen, though they're rare. The timing, mid-morning, might seem like a good opportunity to a predator. Evidence against this. Jason was 6 feet 1 inch and 165 pounds. Not an easy victim. Forcing someone into a car in a residential neighborhood in daylight is very risky. No witnesses reported seeing any struggle or suspicious vehicles. Jason was cautious and not naive. Would he really get into a stranger's car when he was just minutes from his destination? Probability. Medium. Possible, but requires things to align perfectly. Theory number 2. Jason was lured into a house. This is one of the more plausible theories. The scenario: Jason was walking his route when someone, either someone he knew or a stranger using a convincing ruse, lured him into a house or building along his path. Possible scenarios: a neighbor he knew asked for help with something. Someone pretended to have an emergency. Someone offered to let Jason use their phone. Someone offered Jason a drink of water on a warm day. Once inside, something happened. Jason was harmed intentionally. An accident occurred. A situation escalated. The person panicked and hid Jason's body, then disposed of it later when safe to do so. Evidence supporting this would explain why no one saw anything happen indoors. Would explain the quick disappearance. Would explain lack of evidence on the street. Homeowner would have time and privacy to hide body. Would explain why Jason didn't fight back. He knew the person or didn't see danger. Evidence against this. Why would Jason go into someone's house when he was expected at work? If it was someone he knew who, Police investigated people Jason knew. How could someone hide a body without family members or neighbors noticing? Disposing of a body from a residential property is very difficult. Probability: medium-high, one of the more likely scenarios. Theory number 3. Jason encountered someone he knew. This theory suggests Jason was harmed by someone he knew, either intentionally or accidentally. The scenario: Jason encountered an acquaintance, friend, or someone he recognized during his walk. This person offered Jason a ride, asked Jason to help with something, engaged Jason in conversation. During this interaction, something went wrong. A confrontation escalated. An accident occurred. Premeditated harm, though Jason had no known enemies. The person hid Jason's body and has kept the secret for 20-plus years. Evidence supporting this: Jason would be most likely to trust and cooperate with someone he knew. Would explain why Jason got into a vehicle or went somewhere willingly. Someone familiar with the area would know where to hide evidence. Evidence against this: police investigated people Jason knew. No suspects emerged. Jason had no enemies or conflicts with anyone. Why would someone Jason knew harm him? How has this person kept the secret for over 20 years? Probability: medium, possible, but no evidence points to any specific person. Theory number 4. Jason had an accident. This theory suggests no foul play, just a tragic accident. The scenario: Jason had some kind of accident. Fell into a construction site or hole. Entered an abandoned building and was trapped/injured. Had a medical emergency in a place where he wasn't found. His body is in a location that hasn't been searched or was somehow missed during searches. Evidence supporting this: would explain lack of evidence of foul play. Accidents do happen. Bodies can remain hidden for decades in urban areas. Evidence against this: extensive searches found nothing. The neighborhood was thoroughly searched multiple times. Construction sites, abandoned buildings, etc. were checked. Jason was healthy with no known medical conditions. Searchers used dogs that should have found him if he was nearby. Probability: low, doesn't fit the evidence well. Theory number 5. Jason left voluntarily. This theory suggests Jason chose to disappear. The scenario: Jason, for reasons unknown, decided to walk away from his life. He either had been planning this and the work arrangement gave him an opportunity, made an impulsive decision during his walk, met up with someone he'd arranged to help him disappear. He's alive somewhere, living under a different identity. Evidence supporting this: no body has been found. Some people do successfully disappear. Evidence against this: completely inconsistent with Jason's character. He had no money or resources. He left without identification, bank cards, or any supplies. No activity on his identity since 2001. Living off-grid is nearly impossible in the modern world. He was close to his family. Causing them this pain seems impossible for Jason. He had no reason to disappear. No problems, no conflicts, no issues. Probability: extremely low, almost universally dismissed by everyone who knew Jason. Theory number 6. Jason is buried under development. This theory became popular in recent years. The scenario: shortly after Jason disappeared, there was construction and development in the Benson neighborhood. Some theorize that Jason's body ended up, intentionally or accidentally, in a location that was then built over, under a foundation, in a concrete pour, under a parking lot, etc. Evidence supporting this: would explain why body has never been found. There was construction in the area around that time. Bodies have been found under concrete years later in other cases. Evidence against this: would require either incredible coincidence or very specific planning. Construction workers would typically notice a body. Concrete pours don't happen instantly. Someone would see. Probability: low. Possible, but would require unlikely circumstances. Most investigators believe Jason encountered someone, stranger or acquaintance, during his 8-block walk. This person either lured Jason into a vehicle or building or forced him. Whatever happened next, accident or intentional harm, Jason's body was hidden or disposed of in a way that has prevented discovery. The complete lack of evidence suggests whatever happened quickly and out of public view. The person responsible knew how to hide evidence. The body disposal was either very lucky or very well planned. The Jason Jalkowski case is frustrating because it seems like it should be solvable. This wasn't a complex situation. This was a simple walk through a neighborhood. But sometimes the simplest cases are the hardest to solve. Because when there's no evidence, no witnesses, no body, there's nowhere to investigate. Jason Jalkowski disappeared on June 13, 2001. Over 23 years have passed, and his family still has no answers. The years immediately following Jason's disappearance were characterized by constant searching and hoping. Kelly's crusade. Kelly Jalkowski became the voice for her missing son. She organized regular search parties. She kept Jason's case in the media. She worked with other families of missing persons. She never gave up hope that Jason would be found. Kelly has said in interviews that the not knowing is the hardest part. If Jason is deceased, she wants to bring him home and lay him to rest. If he's somehow alive, she wants him to know he's loved and missed. Every year on June 13th, the anniversary of Jason's disappearance, the community organizes searches. Volunteers gather to search new areas. Old areas are researched with new technology. The media covers the anniversary, keeping the case visible. In Jason's honor, Kelly founded Project Jason, a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping families of missing adults. The organization provides resources and support to families, advocates for better missing persons policies, works to improve investigation practices, helps organize searches. From tragedy, Kelly created something that has helped hundreds of other families. As years passed, some things changed, but the core mystery remained. Technology advances. New search technology became available. Drones, improved ground-penetrating radar. Social media spread Jason's story to new audiences. Digital forensics improved, though there's nothing to analyze in Jason's case. New theories. Internet sleuths began examining the case. New theories emerged about construction sites and development. Amateur investigators created maps and timelines. Media coverage. True crime shows featured Jason's case. Podcasts covered his disappearance. His case became part of discussions about impossible disappearances. But still no body. Still no evidence. Still no witnesses. Still no answers. 2020 to 2024, the third decade. As Jason's case enters its third decade, certain realities have set in. The likelihood. After 23 years, certain things are almost certain. Jason is deceased, surviving 23 years with no resources or identity use is essentially impossible. His body is hidden in a location that has been missed by searches or is inaccessible. Whoever is responsible has either died, will never confess, or doesn't realize what they know is important. What keeps investigators going? Despite the passage of time, investigators haven't given up because bodies are sometimes found decades later during construction or by accident. Deathbed confessions happen. New witnesses sometimes come forward years later. Technology continues to improve. Recent developments. In recent years, periodic searches continue, especially around anniversaries. Cold case detectives periodically review the file. New tips are still investigated when they come in. The case remains officially open. The Omaha Police Department. Omaha PD maintains that Jason's case is active and open. They follow up on any credible leads. They believe someone knows something. They encourage anyone with information to come forward. Kelly Today. Kelly Jalkowski is now in her 60s. She has spent over half her life searching for her son. In recent interviews, she's described the permanent limbo of not knowing, the pain of missing Jason's entire adult life, the birthdays and holidays without him, the hope that one day, somehow, there will be answers. She's also described moments of joy, the family she's helped through Project Jason, the community support, the people who still remember and care about Jason. Jason's siblings. Jason's younger siblings have grown up in the shadow of their brother's disappearance. They've lived with the pain and mystery. They've watched their mother search endlessly. They've dealt with a family tragedy that has no closure. Where we stand in 2024. Here's what we know for certain after 23 years. Jason Jalkowski left his house at 11:15 a.m. on June 13, 2001. He was walking 8 blocks to meet a coworker. He never arrived at the meeting spot. He has never been seen or heard from again. No evidence has ever been found. No witnesses have come forward. Despite extensive searches, no trace of Jason exists. And here's what we don't know. What happened during those 8 blocks? Whether Jason encountered someone or something unexpected. Where Jason's body is. Who, if anyone, is responsible. Why someone hasn't come forward with information after 23 years. Theories ruled out. Jason is alive and living under a new identity. No activity on his identity for 23 years. Jason left the country. No passport usage, no border crossings. Jason had problems that made him want to disappear. Everyone who knew him confirms he had no problems. Theories that remain possible. Jason was abducted by a stranger or acquaintance. Jason was lured into a house or building. Jason's body is buried under development. Jason had an accident in a location that hasn't been found. Someone knows what happened, but hasn't come forward. What could solve this case? Someone coming forward. The most likely way this case gets solved. Construction/development uncovering remains. A deathbed confession from someone involved. Random discovery by hikers, workers, or residents. New witness remembering something from that day. A message from Kelly. Kelly has made countless appeals over the years. Her message remains consistent. If you know anything about what happened to Jason, please come forward. Even if you think it's not important, even if you're scared, please tell someone. We need to find Jason. We need to bring him home. If you were in the Benson neighborhood on June 13, 2001, think back. Did you see a tall young man walking? Did you see anything unusual? Did you see a vehicle stopped? Someone talking to someone? Anything? Please help us find our son. To viewers, if you were in Omaha, Nebraska, specifically the Benson neighborhood, on June 13, 2001, if you lived near 48th Street or Maple Street, if you saw anything that day, anything at all, please contact the Omaha Police Department at 402-444-5600. You can remain anonymous. Even the smallest detail could be the piece that finally solves this 23-year mystery. Final thoughts. The Jason Jalkowski case is haunting because of its simplicity. This wasn't a complex situation with lots of variables. This was a young man walking 8 blocks in his own neighborhood in broad daylight. And yet, he vanished. Completely. Totally. As if he never existed. It's a case that reminds us that disappearances don't need to be elaborate or dramatic to be unsolvable. Sometimes the simplest cases are the most mysterious. It's also a case about a mother's love and determination. Kelly has spent 23 years searching, advocating, hoping. She's turned her pain into purpose through Project Jason. She's helped countless other families while never giving up on her own son. Jason was 19 years old when he disappeared. He would be 43 now. He could be a father, a professional, a husband. He could have lived an entire adult life. Instead, he's frozen in time at 19. A son who never came home from an 8-block walk. He deserves to be found. Kelly deserves answers. And somewhere, someone knows something that could finally bring this family the closure they desperately need. What do you think happened to Jason Jalkowski? Share your theories respectfully in the comments. Remember, this is a real family who has suffered for over 2 decades. If this investigation resonated with you, please subscribe to the Vanish Files. We tell the stories of people who deserve to be remembered, cases that remain unsolved, and families who never gave up. Like this video to keep Jason's case visible. Share it with anyone who might have information. Someone watching this might have seen something on June 13th, 2001. In our next video, we'll investigate another disappearance that seems impossible yet remains unsolved. Until then, remember that behind every missing person is a family living in permanent limbo, never knowing, never finding closure, never giving up hope. This has been the Vanish Files. Thank you for helping us keep Jason Jalkowski's memory alive.